there every day and read it because that was one of my rules, to read the Bible every day. Well, I thought, if Circus's dad could be saved, then why not Big Bob Till? I stood there on a pile of alfalfa hay, which cows like so well, and I listened. Nobody seemed to be downstairs, at least not any people. I did hear old Mixie, our black and white cat, mewing as if she were lonesome. I took my New Testament out of my pocket and read a very interesting chapter. The Bible has some places that even grown-ups can't understand without studying them. My dad has a lot of different books that help to explain those places, which is what all boys' parents should have, so they can answer all the hard questions that come popping into a boy's head, and just as quick come tumbling out of his mouth. I finished reading my chapter. Then I climbed over the hay to the place where the crack was in the log, and there was a spider web right across the crack. Then I put both knees down on the hay and prayed for Bob Till, even if I didn't like him very well. Then I left the New Testament and climbed down and went on gathering eggs. Pretty soon I came to the ladder that leads up, higher and higher, all the way up to the cupola, the tiny room on the tip-top of our barn. I always liked to climb up there and look out along the glass windows, across the cornfields and up along Sugar Creek. There were a lot of spider webs up there, too, so I couldn't help but remember that I'd planned to kill a spider for Lucille Brown, Circus's kind of ordinary-looking sister. In fact, she was more than kind of ordinary-looking. Anyway, I decided if I was to kill a spider for her, I'd better hurry up and do it, or pretty soon it'd be winter and there wouldn't be any spiders to kill. After supper, while the sun was still up pretty high, Little Jim's mom sent him over to our house on an errand and told him he could stay a while and play. Then, just before dark, I could ride him home on the back of my bicycle. I asked Dad if we could go down to the spring and get a drink, and he said we could, but not to go in swimming, which we didn't want to do anyway. Pretty soon away we went as fast as we could run, Little Jim running like a little cottontail, and I like a big, long-legged jackrabbit. I guess I'd grown about 2 inches that summer and was beginning to be all hands and feet, which made me look more and more like Bill Collins, which wasn't much. But Little Jim liked me and didn't care how I looked on the outside. Each of us took a drink of water at the spring, lying down on our stomachs and trying to drink like birds do. They dip their bills in the water, you know, and scoop up a billful, and then tip their heads up so the water will run down their throats. They keep their bills moving all the time their heads are up, as though they're saying and thinking something cheerful. Little Jim was lying on the other side of the spring from me. We could see the reflections of our heads in the pool of water, which looked almost like a mirror. All of a sudden he said, "Do you know what the birds say when they tip their heads up like that when they're drinking?" I said, "No, what?" And he said, "They say, 'Thank you, Heavenly Father.'" Little Jim was always surprising people by saying wise things like that. You never could tell what important thoughts might be hiding just behind those 2 blue eyes of his. I didn't say anything, but I liked Little Jim better than ever. Soon we had our shoes and socks off, which our parents hadn't said we couldn't do, and waded down along the creek, skipping rocks and making old Sugar Creek's face smile or frown, whichever we wanted. We'd throw in 2 stones at once, one a little farther out than the other to make eyes, then one in the middle for a nose, then we'd skip another stone, making a long water furrow all the way across for a mouth. When we were tired of doing that, we decided to walk past the old swimming hole just to remember the good times we'd had there and to feel sad because the summer was gone. When we got there, we stopped a minute, and all of a sudden we heard somebody coming. We ducked down behind a bed of wild irises, whose flowers had bloomed last summer from May to July. Dad says the iris gets its name from the Greek word meaning rainbow, and its flowers do look a little like rainbows, except there's too much blue. My mom has some all-white and all-yellow irises in our garden. Little Jim and I stayed as quiet as we could, and I kept my eyes wide open, looking between 2 long, sword-shaped leaves to see who was coming. I couldn't help but think about the time Little Jim's bear had run away, and I wondered again who had cut his collar and turned him loose. In fact, right that minute, we were lying in the very spot where Triangle had been tied. Also, right that minute, I was feeling something hard in the grass under my elbow. While we were keeping quiet, waiting to see who was coming, I looked to see what the hard thing was, and I almost hollered, I was so surprised. For right in front of my astonished eyes and by my shaky right hand was a big